folks, welcome back to Soccer Card Market. So today's video, I'm going to be looking at the legends of the soccer game in sort of late 90s, 2000s, and from that also looking into sort of the legends of the sort of mid 2010s, and yeah, just an interesting look to see what the sort of state of soccer is in terms of the legends of the game now and how the game's changed. And you might be in for a few surprises in this one, as I was when I looked into this. So, without further ado, let's get into the next slide here. So yeah, legitimate legends. There's plenty of them, from the late 90s to sort of early 2000s. There's just so many legends of the game. Like Kaká, Ronaldinho. Obviously, Messi and Ronaldo emerged in the early 2000s. They're kind of on their last kind of legs. Maybe Messi's got a couple of good seasons left. Ronaldo's kind of, dipping in form, and maybe he's got a couple of seasons left max, I would think. But anyways, enough about those guys. They get talked about enough. There's just so many legends from that era. Pirlo, great defenders, Carlos, Alves, although given his jail time, I think that's going to take the sheen away from his footballing brilliance a bit. But yeah, so when I was doing this sort of some research into this, really, what inspired the video was I kind of got thinking, like, after sort of around 2010ish, I was like, who's actually a legend from that era? Who's just an undisputed phenomenon of the game? And the numbers they really just fall off the cliff. Like they just go way down. And we'll look into some of the things that might have affected that. But is very intriguing. So yeah, what's going on in the soccer card world relating to all that? Like who, with a sort of lack of perceptible and definite legends in more recent times. I guess you could call it the modern soccer card market. It's just interesting how that might pan out. We'll go through some of the actual legends of the game soon, and you're going to see it's a heck of a list compared to anything you could create from the players of the last 8 years or so that are still active and sort of in their quote unquote prime or coming up to the best years of their footballing lives. So a brief list of legends, the forwards of the game. With all these lists, I've probably missed out a few players here and there, but I would safely say these are some of the names that you can really dispute, and most people would certainly think of as well. So, and I'm not going to go through every single one, but obviously the original Ronaldo, Messi, Ronaldo, Ibrahimovic, Lewandowski. You've got Raul, Thierry Henry, Sergio Aguero, Luis Suarez. You've got like Francesco Totti, Del Piero, Benzema, Samuel Eto'o, Wayne Rooney, Des Bergkamp, Shearer, Miroslav Klose, Shevchenko, Drogba, Henrik Larsson, Dzeko, even Dzeko, and Mo Salah. That's a legit phenomenal list of memorable players that people will look back on and be like, yeah, those guys, they got the business done in terms of scoring goals, and they came through in the big matches. and won, titles, leagues, cups, Champions Leagues, UEFA Cups, you name it, and World Cups and all the rest of it. So pretty comprehensive list. Again, probably missed out a few. So let's go on to the midfielders, the legends of the game. Again, not going through all of them, but yeah, Ronaldinho, you've got Xavi, Busquets, Nedved, Beckham, Keane, Scholes, Effenberg, Pirlo, Kaká, Modric, Lampard, Gerrard, Snyder, Alonso, Vieira, Ballack, Essien, Makelele, Seedorf, Schweinsteiger, Zidane, Robben, Rivaldo, Silva, Juninho, Yaya Toure, Muller, Bale, and so on. So again, another exceptional list of players that everybody recalls from that era. If they were watching football at all, you couldn't really fail to notice these were some of the greats of the game that had phenomenal careers and did phenomenal things. Whether there's a list like that for the modern game, well, I think we'll soon find out that it's not quite the case. So, of course, can't miss out defenders and goalkeepers. Obviously, they're not quite as collectible, generally speaking. And I think that actually feeds into the idea that if you are a memorable goalkeeper or defender, then you must have done something really phenomenal to be remembered as a defender, because it's not the standout position in soccer. So if you've really excelled in defence, then I would almost argue that's more incredible than to really stand out as a midfielder or forward. Because it's not the most glamorous of spots on the soccer field, but obviously very crucial to any winning team as well. So in terms of defenders, you've got the likes of Pepe, Ramos, Terry, Ferdinand, Cannavaro, Nesta, Maldini, Cafu, Zanetti, Carlos, Carvalho, Ashley Cole, Sol Campbell, Hierro, Lizarazu, and Lilian Thuram, and so on. Some of those guys, I should really mention Lam as well. He's just one of the all-time greatest left backs of all time, without question. In terms of goalkeepers, well, for me, Buffon's without doubt the best goalkeeper that's ever been. He didn't win a Champions League. Well, so what? Lots of great players don't win Champions Leagues. Manuel Neuer changed the position in terms of being able to get the ball to feet, coming out deep out from his goal line and helping build up the attacking play. So he really changed that. And then Casillas was incredible back in his day, as were many of the Italian keepers like Pagliuca, Peruzzi, Toldo, and the Czech player, was another absolute all-time great, and Oliver Kahn also, just sort of player you just don't see anymore. Full of anger and passion, and just all out top keeper. So that's sort of the list of legends. Again, you can add to this, I'm sure. These are sort of the top picks, sort of unforgettable players. But yeah, I mean, that's taken up 3 pages. Dozens and dozens of exceptional players from the 90s, into the 2000s. But yeah, so keep that in mind as we go through this video. So yeah, with all those sort of legends, all but retired or mostly retired, what legendary players are there since 2015, around then? How many legitimate legendary players have actually emerged in the last 8 years or so. It's not looking good. Is all I'm going to say. So I've kind of come up with a list here. You can contest this. Again, there's probably some players that I could have put on this list that have just slipped my mind, or I don't know. Yeah, I just haven't thought to add them to it. So I would say legitimate contenders at this stage in 2023, the best soccer players that have some sort of legacy or just unquestionable ability and have won stuff or have a great chance of winning trophies in the next maybe decade or so. It's really not many. I mean, you've got the obvious ones like Mbappe and Haaland. They both won quite a lot of stuff between them, especially like obviously Haaland won the treble last season, and then Mbappe's won countless leagues and World Cup as well. Kevin De Bruyne, similar to Haaland. Harry Kane, he's gone to Bayern. Surely he's going to win a trophy there. And regardless if he does or doesn't, he's still legend of the game. Regardless, just because he was at Tottenham doesn't mean he's not a great player. So there's a lot of people just clueless about the game, commenting on that sort of stuff. Arguably Kingsley Coman. I mean, he's won a title every season since 2014. Scored the game winner in the Champions League final for Bayern. Maybe not everyone's cup of tea. Maybe doesn't do it that consistently anymore. I do wonder if motivation's a bit of an issue there, just being at Bayern for so long, but I don't know. Anyways, then you've got some goalkeepers like Courtois, Ter Stegen, Ederson, Bukayo Saka. He hasn't won anything at Arsenal yet, but I'd say he's got an exceptional chance at winning stuff there, or if he moves somewhere else. Rafael Leao. He's won a title, AC Milan. So it's semi-final of the Champions League last year, not too shabby. And again, he's got plenty of upside to his career. Rodri, probably, I think, without question, the best midfielder in his position in the last 3-4 years. Then you've got Vinny Jr. I'd say similar to Saka in terms of ability and sort of future prospects, although obviously he's already won some big stuff already. And then Camavinga in that same team. I mean, both those guys have already won the Champions League. So, pretty darn impressive. Camavinga is only like 20 or something. Bernardo Silva, very underrated, I feel. Again, Man City guy. Joshua Kimmich, has been performing year in, year out for Bayern Munich. You've got Osimhen. I think winning a title for Napoli after so long is going to stand out as a hell of an achievement, regardless of what he does for the rest of his career. But it seems inevitable that he's going to move to a bigger club, as they always get sort of mentioned as. Antoine Griezmann, a bit flaky for me. He's been exceptional for France, that's for sure. Had a great start to his career, but I'm not sure if he's really, consistent enough to be a sort of a legitimate sort of legend of the game. But only time will tell. And then Sadio Mane, well, I don't know. I mean, he won quite a few things with Liverpool, but now he's off to Saudi Arabia. So, yeah. And that's about all you can say on that. Virgil van Dijk, Jude Bellingham, John Stones maybe, and Lautaro Martinez. So, short list. There's maybe less than 20 players in that list. Again, I'm sure there's guys I've forgotten to include. But again, not a long list at all, and that's all divided up between different positions too, which counts towards something. given that forwards are typically rated ahead of defenders and goalkeepers and midfielders and all that sort of thing. So yeah, quite yeah, it kind of alarmed me actually when I was coming up with this video, and I just could not think of that many players from the last 8 years or thereabouts that are you could really think they're going to be greats of the game by the time they retire. Yeah, it kind of shocked me a bit actually, when you consider all the greats that have gone before. And yeah, on that note, I think it's fair to say that sort of like music in the movies, soccer might have had its golden age in terms of exceptional talents all playing at the same time. Yeah, footballers, they're just different now. There's less technical ability, hardly any flair players, tricksters and dribblers, hardly any dead ball specialists. I mean, James Ward-Prowse is considered one in the Premiership, but I mean, he's decent. I wouldn't say he's a phenomenon by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, it seems young players they get way too much money too early and just lose motivation, and then there's all the like constant social media bullshit, which it's got to be distracting. It has to affect people's mentality and how they think about football. It seems like football's no longer like this hyper competitive kind of tribal war that they engage in. It's more of just well, this is what I like doing, and I'll also do loads of social media and build up, a brand that way and all that sort of stuff. So it's changed a lot in that regard. Yeah, and just sort of this is just an example. Like, do players even train anymore? Like beyond the training sessions they have? Did they train that hard before they even, or play that much even before they became professionals? I mean, some of these guys certainly do not have anything exceptional in terms of technical ability or football brain. Yeah, like Eric Cantona, like he used to stay behind with one of the ball boys who would cross the ball in and he'd work in his volleys. That's partly why he was so good and so sharp with the football. And I also read something about Mo Salah when he scored the most goals he's ever scored in the season. He had one of those little toy goals for like his daughter, his son, uh, and he said, yeah, he'd constantly be playing or with his kid and taking shots at his goal. So he was getting in extra touches of football and taking extra shots, and that's why his finishing was so good. Clearly, he's not doing that the last couple of years, but yeah, I mean, these things they make a hell of a difference. If a player makes a packet of money and they turn up to training, half-arsed it and barely, they just put in the necessary effort and that's it. They're not going to be exceptional. They're never going to become great footballers. It's just that simple. You have to stay sharp. You have to stay focused and train and really want it. And most of these modern footballers, you can tell they just don't. So where do we go from here? And yeah, yeah, like if you kind of look back, like there's quite a few players. Sort of they nearly made the grade, but faded bad. Like Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba is probably one of the best examples. But even having said that, he's still won multiple trophies at Juve and Manchester United. So he's certainly had a frustrating career for anyone that kind of supports him or is buying his soccer cards. But he has still won stuff. But yeah, beyond the sort of obvious prospects, like who's actually going to establish themselves as a generational talent. Surely someone has to, but who's it going to be? The list is not long. When I think back to when I was watching soccer in the early 2000s, like sort of early 2010s, and obviously when Ronaldo and Messi were still kicking around, like there was just so many great players. Not just one team, multiple teams across leagues, and that just seems to have, disappeared a bit. Possibly relating to the things I mentioned in the previous slide. So yeah, it is kind of alarming. The number of sort of legitimate contenders to be considered a legend by the end of their careers is smaller, a lot smaller than the previous generation, which might be down to some major changes affecting football. Different tactics, coaching, a lot of statistics packages that get used, all that sort of stuff. I mean, I would say the creativity, the art that you used to see in a game, just is almost non-existent anymore. But beyond that, I think that there just isn't the talent, the raw footballing ability just does not seem to be there. In particular, the dribblers, the players that actually not just dribbling the ball like Messi, but like that had tricks that they could do during a game. You had like JJ Okocha, Ronaldinho, Zidane. There was a list of players that were flair players that could manipulate the ball, beyond anyone else. But I literally can't think of any player in a modern game that's capable of pulling off some tricks in a game. Like Antony at Manchester United, he did a 360 pirouette with the ball at the touchline and got absolutely abused for it, which I found disgusting. It's like, finally, there's some creativity in the game, some flair, something interesting beyond just basic passing. But yeah, that's all football fans for you, just absolute idiots that can't appreciate someone being skillful with a football. So yeah, I don't know what that's going to mean for soccer going forwards. What does that mean for the soccer card hobby? Are people going to really sort of go back to all the legends? It does seem there's obviously a major trend towards that in the last 2-3 years, and I can totally understand why. Like Ibrahimovic, his tricks and skills, like you just don't see that anymore. So, and for me, it just means the game just is way less fun to watch. Without some of these players that have phenomenal dribbling skills. And again, I don't just mean running with the ball, although there's not even that many players that can just literally trap a ball and do a basic dribble past the defender. There's not even many players that can do that. Like in the Premiership, like the standout guys, Kaoru Mitoma. Like beyond him, I mean Saka can. Yeah, he can dribble past people, but it's rarely with any sort of flair or, anything like that. So, yeah, that sort of artistry that you had in the game at one point, that's just gone. And for me, that's a very sad thing. Anyways, but yeah, I wonder how that's going to impact the modern market as well, because is it all going to just be down to raw stats that people are going to buy, soccer cards based on? Because if that's the case, like Zinedine Zidane would be like the 20th choice for, past midfielders based on that. Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird time for soccer, and then of course you've got Saudi Arabia buying up loads of players with their human rights record being abysmal and so on, and just literally throwing money at players. Okay, I will say most of them won't be missed, but it won't be good if players sort of in the mid-20s start going there for big pay packets. But there's always some other player that's going to come in and play. So whatever, really. But yeah, having said all that, I've kept this video under 30 minutes for once in my life, which is quite impressive for me. Yeah, just what are your thoughts? Where do you see things going in terms of collectability and even the game itself? Ciao for now. Soccer card markets over and out.